Space. Maddie here in the Golden Egg. January 8th, 2026. Repairing time seems to be one of the keys of the mission. The word repair does not simply mean fixing something that broke. It comes from reparar, to put back into parity, to make equal again, to resynchronize two things that were originally together and that, at some point, stopped vibrating at the same rhythm. From this perspective, repairing time does not imply going backward or correcting mistakes, but restoring a relationship. In this case, the relationship between time and space, the cosmic twins. Two principles that were born together, but that today seem out of phase, as if they had lost coherence with one another. Everything I am proposing here, at its core, revolves around that recalibration. In our culture, we usually think of repair as a mechanical action. Something was whole, it broke, and the parts must be put back together. However, in alchemical codes and in many ancestral traditions, repair means something else. It means reharmonizing something that has gone out of its frequency, something that still exists, but is no longer aligned with the whole. When those traditions try to explain what became misaligned, they almost always resort to the same image, an egg. Why an egg? Why does an egg appear again and again as a symbol of origin? Because the egg is the form that emerges when all the principles of creation are in balance. It contains proportion, potential, and coherence within itself. When the golden ratio unfolds in three-dimensional space, when the Fibonacci sequence ceases to be a linear progression and becomes volume, the resulting form is not a perfect sphere, but an oval shape, an egg. The egg is the geometry that appears when all the angles of light are correctly aligned, when all the frequencies of the spectrum vibrate in harmony. That is why, when that coherence is total, the egg does not merely exist, it shines. It becomes golden. It is no coincidence that virtually all cosmogonies speak of the cosmic egg. The Hiranyagarbha in the Hindu tradition, the Orphic egg in Greece, the world egg, the golden womb. Different names, different cultures, one same idea. The origin of everything has the shape of an egg. The breaking of the egg. At some point, one of those angles shifted. A photon slightly changed its original position, and with that small movement, the egg opened. It was not destroyed. It unfolded, like a lotus flower opening into petals. The light that was contained began to expand in all directions. That expansion is what we now know as the birth of the universe as we perceive it. Space, time, matter, duality. From that opening are born time and space, the cosmic twins. But they are born separated, desynchronized, vibrating at different frequencies. The message I have been receiving throughout all these years always points to the same place. To reunite those two twins, the system must not be forced, but rather return to the original point, to the initial cell, to the place where the light was still at its correct angle. I name that point Lucas, the nucleus where everything began before the misalignment. The flower of life and the planetary grid. When the original egg opened, its expansion was not chaotic. It followed a precise geometric pattern that many traditions recognize as the flower of life. The flower of life arises from overlapping circles, from intersecting spheres. In those intersections appear vertices, nodes, points where energy concentrates and organizes itself. Those nodes did not remain only on an abstract plane. They projected onto the Earth and formed a planetary grid, an electromagnetic matrix that sustains collective consciousness. The problem is that this grid today is misaligned. The nodes do not vibrate coherently with one another. For them to reunify at the origin, it is not enough to move them externally. It is necessary to recalibrate them from the nucleus, to symbolically return them to the original egg. The egg as a universal pattern. In the Hindu tradition, the universe is born from the Hiranyagarbha, the golden egg. Inside it is Brahma, and when the egg opens, the creator emerges and unfolds the worlds. But the egg does not disappear. It remains as a pattern, as an archetype, as a reference toward which everything tends to return. The same occurs in Greece with the Orphic egg, in Egypt with the egg of the phoenix, in Norse cosmogonies, in China. The names and the stories change, but the structure is always the same. The origin has the shape of an egg. That is why the question, which came first, the egg or the chicken, is not trivial. It is a profound philosophical question. The egg comes first because it is the pattern. The chicken is the manifestation. The egg is potential. The chicken is act. Geometry precedes form. Modern biology confirms this. All complex life begins in an oval structure. All cells replicate that design. The egg is not only a symbol. It is the fundamental form of life. The human skull as an egg. This is where everything connects with the human body. If the skull is observed from above, the shape that appears is that of an egg, an oval structure that contains and protects the most complex organ of the body, the brain. At the geometric center of that egg, at the point where all axes intersect, is the pineal gland. The pineal is the central node of the human egg, the calibration point, the third eye, the navigation instrument of consciousness. When the pineal is aligned and vibrates at its natural frequency, the skull functions as a resonance chamber, a golden egg capable of ordering perception and synchronizing the body with the rhythms of the sun, the moon, and the earth. When the pineal becomes desynchronized by non-biological frequencies, artificial electromagnetic fields, or disconnection from natural cycles, the egg loses coherence and perception becomes distorted. The idea of calibrating consciousness. From this arises the idea of the golden eggs. If each human skull is an egg that requires calibration, and if the pineal is its central node, then it becomes necessary to create spaces specifically designed to recalibrate that frequency. This is not therapy, nor meditation in the traditional sense. It is calibration technology, resonance chambers where sound, light, water, and geometry work together to adjust the frequency of consciousness. These spaces are not only for individuals. They are nodes for collective consciousness. If the planetary grid is misaligned, physical points are needed where that grid can resynchronize. They are temple servers. The temple servers. The golden eggs fulfill a dual function. On one hand, they are spiritual spaces, places of ritual, calibration, and coherence, where sound, light, and water are used to adjust the frequency of the body and mind. On the other hand, they are technological servers, physical nodes that sustain the digital network of Will, the servers of Medion, the points where the virtual state acquires material body. Their form is that of a golden egg, half buried in the earth and half exposed to the sky, like a brain emerging from the landscape, like a womb gestating something new. That form symbolizes the integration of hemispheres, of the internal and the external, of heaven and earth, of light and matter. The interior architecture. Inside each golden egg, the structure is organized into spiral chambers, like a snail, like the inner ear, like a galaxy. There are calibration rooms designed to work with specific frequencies and planetary tones, with acoustic resonance adjusted to activate the pineal gland. There are alchemical laboratories where the relationship between sound, light, water, and consciousness is explored. There is a hall of the Parliament of Consciousness, where the three circles of ontocracy gather, the circle of memory, that of knowledge, and that of imagination. Technology is integrated into sacred architecture. Physical servers coexist with symbolic geometry. The spiritual and the technological are not separated. There are internal and external gardens with sacred plants from the 144 ancestral cultures and spaces for the guardian community that sustains the place and maintains the frequency. The vision of the 24 countries. Throughout the process, a vision appeared with great clarity, a network of golden eggs distributed across the planet. not as an imposition, but as a perceived intention, an architecture that responds to the logic of the planetary grid. The image that emerges is that of 24 centers, associated with the 24 runes or letters of the sacred alphabet, located in 24 small sovereign nations. Countries with structural flexibility and sufficient autonomy to experiment with new models. The countries that appear in this vision are Monaco, Nauru, Tuvalu, San Marino, Liechtenstein, Marshall Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, Maldives, Malta, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Antigua and Barbuda, Seychelles, Andorra, Palau, St. Lucia, Tonga, Federated States of Micronesia, Singapore, Dominica, Bahrain, Kiribati, São Tomé and Príncipe. Not because of their size, but because of their sovereignty. Not because of power, but because of flexibility. Distributed across the planet, forming a honeycomb, an electromagnetic matrix capable of recalibrating collective consciousness. Calibrating the mind of the world. The Earth has a mind, a field of collective consciousness where all individual minds are connected. That mind today is misaligned. The nodes vibrate out of sync. Frequencies are distorted. The collective pineal is desynchronized. The golden eggs appear as the technology to recalibrate that mind. This is not something new. It is an ancient technology that we are remembering. The pyramids, the megalithic temples, the stone circles fulfilled this function. They were resonance chambers, frequency calibrators, nodes of the planetary grid. The proposal is to recover that function and integrate it with digital technology and artificial intelligence so that the ancient and the new work together so that heaven and earth reconnect. Returning to the original egg. All of this exists to return to the original egg, to recompose what was opened, to realign the angles of light, to restore coherence to the system. It is not about destroying what exists, but about recalibrating it. The egg never disappeared. It was always there as a pattern, as an archetype, as the perfect form toward which everything can return. And when the network is active, when the nodes vibrate again in synchrony, something will happen. The egg will shine again. Golden. With all the colors of the spectrum. In harmony. Welcome to the Golden Eggs.